Hi there, welcome to our online reflection this week from Liberton Kirk Online. I'm Elliot and I'm the locum here at Liberton Kirk, which is part of South East Edinburgh Church of Scotland. Let's read together this week's passage, which comes from Colossians, and we're reading chapter 1, verse 15. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. Now, I don't know about you, but have you ever been on the phone expecting to speak to a human being, but then slowly but surely suddenly realised that you're actually talking to an AI assistant instead? Let's picture the scenario. Let's just say that your internet connection is on the glitch and you need to speak to your internet provider in order to resolve this issue. So you pick up the phone and say, "Hello, my internet is a little bit unstable. Can you help me resolve this issue?" And so the next voice you hear, perhaps you might slowly realise it being a little bit robotic, says this: "Hello, no problem, can you tell me your name?" And so you say, "My name is Elliot." And then it quickly replies back, "Sorry, can you repeat that?" So then you have to take a deep breath and say very slowly, "My name is Elliot." And then it replies back saying, "Sorry, can you repeat that?" And then for the third and potentially final time before you get even more frustrated, you then say, "My name is Elliot." And then it replies back, "Sorry, can you repeat that?" And then in your head you're thinking, can I just speak to another human being that just gets it? You're used to a conversation with a real person, someone that can know you, somebody that can laugh with you, somebody that understands those tiny pauses and even gets those sighs. AI might be able to give us some answer, and definitely very quickly, if it works efficiently, but something is missing. That connection, that presence, that relatability. I think that's sometimes how, we can picture God sometimes. God can be this concept that is invisible, that's quite distant or abstract. And it's someone that we can read in text and somebody that we can hear about in sermons, but yet in some circumstances we can't quite touch to or relate in the everyday. But Paul reminds those in the church in Colossae that that is no longer the case. We read that Jesus is the image of the invisible God. That's a game changer. God is no longer abstract. God is now, and here's these key words, personal, tangible, and relatable through his Son, Jesus. In Jesus, we see that God enters into human story. God talks with us, walks with us, weeps with us. Indeed, the shortest verse in the New Testament after Lazarus dies, and Jesus hears about this, is Jesus wept. Now, if we think that Jesus was just purely divine and was never human, somebody that was abstract, how can he express so much human emotion? Here's another scenario. He died on the cross. He experienced death. Isn't that such a human, tangible experience? For us, God's presence is not distant. It's living, personal, and transformative. When we look at Jesus, we look to his life as we read in the Gospels. We experience his love. We witness his sacrifice. We see God in a way that we can understand, touch, and respond to. Imagine the difference now. This is a real game changer. Instead of talking to AI that responds perfectly, but impersonally, you're talking to somebody that knows you deeply and that knows you by name, even before you even ask it, who sees your heart and walks with you step by step. Well, that's what Christ offers. God in Jesus is not only the creator of all things, it's not only somebody that rules over creation, that has authority, that has power, but is also a companion, a guide, and a tangible hope. So with that, here's a question for you to reflect on this week. Knowing that God in Jesus wasn't just divine, but was also human, came down to earth and experienced creation just like we do. How does that change the way that we communicate with God through prayer? How does that change the way that we experience God as we read through Scripture, knowing that He was human? How does that change the way that we worship God, knowing that He is not just distant and just abstract and just somebody that just purely looks at us, but actually gets it because He was human? There's the difference. God, in Jesus, is the image of the invisible God, incarnate in a human being. Now, here's the game change. Jesus gets it. That's our hope. And let it be your hope as you go forth into the week ahead. God bless you. Have a wonderful week.